President Obama has spoken often about the weight he feels every time he signs a letter of condolence to a military family. But you may be surprised to learn what Elaine Quijano found. Not every family that suffers a loss gets a letter from the Commander-in-Chief.
I miss you, Chance. I do.
Father's Day marked 2 years since Greg and Janet Kiesling's son, 25-year-old Army Specialist Chance Kiesling, died.
We did get a full military burial with the 21-gun salute and playing of taps.
Kiesling was on his second tour in Iraq, and he was struggling with emotional problems. But no one knew how much he was suffering.
Say it with me, take the cat in the hat.
In June 2009, he recorded this video for his girlfriend's niece. But days later, after a fight with that girlfriend, Kiesling shot himself on his post in Iraq.
And I think his last words to Janet were, "My day's not going to go very well."
That's the spot that's waiting for the condolence letter from the president. So
every military family whose loved one is killed in combat receives a condolence letter signed by the president. But there would not be a letter for the Kieslings, as a military official explained in a phone call.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kiesling. There's a long-standing policy that prevents the President of the United States from acknowledging your family.
No letter because Chance Kiesling's death was a suicide. And it turns out it's not just families like the Kieslings. Sarah Conkling didn't receive one either for her daughter Jessica.
She was willing to put her life on the line, and she did lose her life doing it. But it doesn't count as much to them.
Conkling was a Marine Corps pilot training for deployment in combat when her helicopter crashed in San Diego. She was 27.
Her cowling came off and tore the rotor off her helicopter, and they never had a chance.
Families of active duty military who die in stateside training accidents do not receive presidential condolence letters. But Sarah Conkling says her daughter's sacrifice deserves that recognition.
You know, you'd like people to have appreciated and understand what she did. That she was important, and her loss is a big loss.
The White House tells us this policy goes back decades through several administrations. No one seems to know how it started, but the Kieslings have been fighting for nearly 2 years to get it changed.
And we're not asking for anything beyond that, but a simple acknowledgement of thank you on behalf of the United States of America. Thank you. That simple.
In 2009, the White House said it was reviewing the policy. A year and a half later, it still doesn't have an answer for families like the Kieslings. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, Indianapolis.
After working on Elaine's story, we were curious about these presidential condolence letters. Mrs. Patricia Sherman of Fayetteville, North Carolina, was kind enough to share with us the letter that she received, dated January 22, 2010. The letter from President Obama begins, "Dear Patricia, I am deeply saddened by the loss of your husband, Sergeant Benjamin W. Sherman, U.S. Army. No words can ever ease your sorrow, but please take comfort in knowing that he has honored us all beyond measure." This is the president's signature. The White House tells us that he signs each letter personally.